But just getting started here in the first room, like we can already see is kind of a set piece. We haven't gotten into an encounter yet, but we see the giant the pentagram. We're gonna see a lot of these, but right away just like loads of colors and just like a kick-ass area that's pushing out to me right now is like we have like a spectrum, a rainbow going on.
Yeah, so the original project, Refracted Reality, these maps were going to be in, originally each map was color themed, so it, it was a deliberate ploy to stick with. This one was largely purple, although I did add in a bit of red as an accent. So that's why there's a heavy individual color focus in these maps. But I also think that's a good way to map in Doom is to try and have like a primary aesthetic that's consistent through a map, and having a strong color scheme as part of that. Doom, I think that just Doom really suits that vibrancy, the way the engine renders.
So this has like multiple colors, but like a mapper I can think of who took that to the extreme was Rubik's, where there would nearly be like a single color, like Swim with the Whales is like blue pops out at you, Stardate 20x6 you have pink and purple. You didn't quite go that far.
No, and but you know those Rubik's maps are really distinctive for that. Obviously, Sunlust is a bit more varied, but yeah, the Stardate series, Swim with the Whales, and Magnolia, that is the latest one.
Yeah,
really stand out with consistent, strong color schemes. Rubik's eye for color is really good because obviously he also does his own palette work. You know, creates unique palettes for these, which really allows him to draw a unique color out of the Doom palette. You know, stuff that doesn't normally exist. You know, in traditional Doom.
okay, already you're sending about like 20 or 30 imps at me, but they kind of popped in late and I was able to get behind them.
To be fair, you have played this bit before.
Oh, I couldn't remember that part. I just like I saw a med kit and I'm like, oh, my brain, my brain just goes crazy.
So when I made this map, it was quite interesting because each of the maps in here all have quite a different kind of genesis, you know, creation process. So it gives them a bit of a talking point. So this one wasn't widely planned when I made it. It was largely done on the fly, just an organic process, seeing how things came out. But so I didn't have ideas for each area and how fights would go. But I didn't heavily plan much in this particular map.
Well, wasn't the like this set was there was like a megawad that was going in, but the maps from that megawad were like pulled out, and they became the Slaughter Spectrum.
Yeah, that's what was originally part of a bigger project, which I believe is still in development. And yeah, this one, when did I start this? This would have been about August last year. It's probably 2.5 months of work on this one. It was a lot bigger originally. And I actually got to the point where the line count meant that GZdoom would take forever to load, even when you died, because GZdoom rebuilds the nodes every time you load a game. I'm not sure why.
So every time you would die and then you'd reload, you'd have to have the same waiting period.
Yeah, it would have a good 10 seconds, probably on my old rig, which is not good. So I ended up cutting out about half the map, which I still have. So that stuff will make an appearance. Maybe not exactly the same, but those design ideas are not thrown away. Some people might remember the infamous jellyfish room, which was a single vaulted kind of cathedral hall, contained about 30,000 lines. It was a bit ridiculous.
Oh man.
So
okay.
that it will reappear in some way. But yeah, that was an interesting thing that I had to learn and then adjust to. Was at a point, GZdoom just takes way too long to load. How do you use all your ammo?
I'm not sure, but I remembered when I got into the room that there was a berserk pack, but it took me a minute to. Oh yeah, I have this option, so I am fine. I think
That's why I chucked it in there.
It probably got like overused on the imps. Is like what I would expect is you could probably get those revenants and get them to end fight and all that.
Yeah, the easiest way to do that fight is actually go press the 2 buttons, not the third one, quickly, and then just let everything punch each other to death.
So a lot of these red symbols that I see here, are they taken from something, or did you sketch
They're
them
actually
up?
from Doom 2016.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So
It felt familiar. Which part?
They're just generally scattered through like for detailing in Doom 2016, which I hadn't actually realised the first time I played it because I just recently replayed Doom 2016, and yeah, you can see those shapes, around the pentagram maybe on the floor where some demons have teleported in, or a bit of kind of evil detailing, candles and bodies in the ground. So if anyone's playing through it, you can see a lot of those. Scattered through there. If you turn around, you're able to get that soul sphere now.
Yeah, just grab that one. Low on ammo again. But it's like, I've always felt that when you're kind of multitasking on stream is you're not like thinking as much. You're probably like missing a few shots here and there. It's like, there we go. I'll have just enough. But, there we go. What else? I'm kind of seeing little crystals from... It's like Jimmy's Mapset, Zune, right?
Yes, I think those are from Zune. So a lot of the textures are Zune text, or recolors of Zune text, or this marble. And Ancient Aliens also features quite heavily in the textures from there, because that's got a really nice texture pack.
Yeah, Ancient Aliens is... Come on, there we go.
Alright, this is where it starts to get a bit...
Yeah, it's getting crazy on me already. It's like, I gotta remember it's not just a normal, typical map set. Not just like the TNT Revolution we're doing the other day. I think I'll take this middle section. It looks safer.
Yeah, the idea behind this particular encounter was to introduce the rocket launcher to the map and make it a rocket-centric fight, and have the player have to think carefully about when they fire, because it starts off empty, it gets progressively more crowded, and those pillars that raise up, they do give you cover, and they also give you the opportunity to shoot yourself in the face, which I know you're quite a fan of, the old wall rockets.
Well, you're playing against an experienced tendency where you're trying not to shoot as much, because you're trying to save as much ammo as possible, but by pushing the player with a whole bunch of new monsters, then you get into this situation where it's like, oh, I wanted to clear more things out, but it's too late. Like, you've already made the mistake.
Yeah, I tend to be reasonably generous with ammo. I don't like ammo starvation. It's one style of map that I don't like personally. So I try to make each fight have a reasonable amount of ammo, and I'll usually put the ammo, the ammo type that you should be using primarily. As a hint, use this. This is what I'm giving you, and this is the weapon you should be using for a lot of these set pieces.
So you're saying you're a big fan of the backpack?
Yes. Although I did accidentally, my map for Dying Camel's Demons actually didn't put a backpack in it. I realised after I'd submitted it, and it actually made the later fights interesting. They had enough ammo, but you had to go back and pick things up more frequently, which meant you had to be a little bit more careful about your positioning.
This is
trapped in a corner without any BFG ammo.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a cute setup with the cacodemons just on top of each other. I like it.
I was trying to think of because turret monsters are always static kind of area denial stuff is a good Doom trope, and I was trying to do something that wasn't just like a revenant on a pillar. Like, okay, we'll make a caco stack.
I've thrown the revenants at me, or the archviles.
Always archviles. I genuinely love the Archvile. I know there's a few people out there that don't like it as a monster. I think it's a bit something unfair, I don't know, but I think it's the pinnacle of monster design for me. Ranged, essentially a hits game, but with a timer, so it's got an interesting attack dynamic. So once he starts attacking, you're not instantly hit, but you will be if you don't get cover. And he's fast, so he can cover along the ground and move between areas in kind of frightening ways. And obviously the resurrecting, it's just so many elements that make him a really interesting monster, I feel.
Well, it gives the mapper a lot of options, because have you done like a Doom 1 map?
The closest thing I've done to a Doom 1 map was my Joy of Mapping map. So the theme of that was Ultimate Doom. You could use Doom 2 assets, but I decided I wanted to keep it as close to Doom 1 as I could. So there's no super shotgun, and it's 99% the Doom 1 bestiary, which is much more limiting.
Like, how do you like it when all you can use is Barons and Cacodemons? Kind of tough.
It was a fun experiment, but but I think the Doom 2 bestiary is just improves everything in every way. It's just flat out better. You think about the monsters that have been introduced. You got we talked about the Pain Elemental, which is unique. It spawns monsters, but it can't attack itself. You've got the Mank, which is a great kind of a roadblock monster. They're hard to get past, but they've got an interesting fire spread. Same with the Arachnotron, great fire suppression monster that you can put up on pillars and rain shots down on the player. Revenant, which you see heavily used in a lot of slaughter maps. For a reason, it's because they're not too tough. You can blast them apart pretty easily with the rocket launcher in a pack, and killing half a dozen of them with the super shotgun doesn't feel sloggy. They're quick again, so they pressure the player, and they've got that homing rocket mechanic, which is it's another point of difference. They're a great monster design, I feel.
Yeah, well, speaking of Revenants, we just got a host from John, which I appreciate, but I feel like all those compliments to Revenants might be, I don't know about that. But they're just such a powerful, all-in-one kind of utility monster that they can almost kind of work anywhere.
Yeah, they're very versatile. You can use them in tight spaces, like they don't... because you can do that kind of forward-back juke and encourage the melee hit. They don't. They're not like a Baron in a hallway. You're kind of guaranteed to take a bit of damage. But a Revenant you can fake out quite easily. So they're great in tight encounters, but they're also good in a horde in a wide open space. I was talking to Arlene. I was testing a map for her yesterday, and there's a bit where there's a huge horde of Hell Knights, and I suggested changing that to Revenants, because a horde of Hell Knights in a big open space is pretty easy to just circle and not take any risk. But a bunch of Revenants, well, their projectiles chase you, so you have to think a bit more. I do like the Revenant.
Yeah, I was spotting some screenshots on, I think it was Major Arlene's Twitter. Also, thank you for the 200 bits. But like every time I see the screenshots, like on Twitter from like any of the mappers, it makes me just excited. Like I want to try mapping, and then I'll put in like 5 minutes into Doom Builder 2 or GZdoom Builder, and it's just like,
yeah, it's like, I want to try this, and then you try it, and you're like, maybe later.
This doesn't look like the screenshots.
Yeah, this is hard.
Ooh, I got myself stuck around the torch. Bad idea.
You managed to trigger the line and then back up and get surrounded. But yeah, I've definitely got the mapping bug. I prefer mapping over playing myself. Yeah, so one of the actually less often than I thought it would be, the issues in this particular area is obviously there's some points where the frames drop when you're looking out across the vista. At this point, it's one of those things that'll be too hard to fix, but definitely something that I learned to be a bit more careful with.
That's tough. You get the soul sphere, and then you go down. You get teleport, and you get revenants that come behind you there too. Oh.
Well, you're gonna decide, do you want to pick up that secret now and not be able to use the stairs for the fight, or do you not grab the health and save it for later? There's a few different ways to do this fight actually, because I always, when you make an encounter, you always have a planned strategy in your mind of how you want the player to deal with it. It's always interesting seeing how different people approach it and come up with ideas to beat it, like that puzzle element that I was talking about earlier.
Well, just by putting in a bit of stairs to deal with in the encounters, it can take like something that would be a rather simplistic and just make it way harder, just losing your movement potential.
No, I like stairs. They're fun to make. I think they look. I always enjoy making stairs and making them look pretty. But I like the gameplay implications of stairs.
No, they aren't fun to climb. So where are we supposed to be? Because I see in like all of these we're somewhere out in space, like
nondescript abstract void. Which I definitely prefer making abstract maps rather than things grounded in real life. The tech bases are not my favorite. I like to create strange shapes and strange images and strange structures. Oof.
I'm not having any luck, buddy. We'll get there. I've got a lot of shotgun. It's because like we can use up the rocket launcher on the first one, but then after that set of revenants, we run out.
There are rockets at the bottom of each set of stairs that you can access now. So if you clear this pack out quickly, you can, before the other pack comes down the other side, you might be able to duck over and grab rockets.
Okay, let's try it. Nope.
Wolf got trolled.
Oh, I left the encounter.
Yep, yeah. Which is fine.
Just winning by default. Oh, okay, so now we're into the main meat of the map with a huge arena.
Yes, into the palace, as it were. And yeah, the music switch, I was quite pleased with that. Something I want to do a bit more of. Joys of ACS scripts.
I'm actually a fan of getting music changes kind of within maps because, I don't know, if you don't have just the right song, you can get kind of sick of it by the end. Like if you
definitely. And, sorry, Karen.
Like if you have a 20 or 30 minute map and you've listened to the rotation 10 times.
Or a 6-hour map like in Sunder.
Oh yeah, or whatever Decino's doing right now. I think he's streaming the Occuplock map for the second time.
Machine.
Need a full day just to get through it.
Yeah, was it 11 hours his first playthrough?
Yeah, his first one, and that's with saves.
It's an impressive effort, that's for sure. But yeah, this area was really fun to make. Again, this was largely unplanned. Just kind of started in the middle, and then started making arches. And I decided I wanted to have like a three-wave fight with these circle areas, but the original concept wasn't a big fan of it. So I've actually changed this fight several times since I first made it. In hindsight, there were some other things I would have done to make the area a bit more dynamic and have things raising and lowering. But the way it was built, it was a bit hard to shoehorn it in late in the piece. And that's why I ended up using portals, which you'll see at the last fight.
Do you have an answer to that question, Bridge? Were you drinking a lot of grape juice when you were making this?
I do have a tendency to map with a little bit of lubrication. So hop juice usually. I had a rather interesting stream yesterday while consuming a few craft beers and came up with something I probably wouldn't have tried sober, to be honest. But that's come out really interesting. You're dead.
Yeah.
Boned. There was actually a study I read which made me feel better. There's a sweet spot blood alcohol content that actually does improve creativity. Studies done show that a little bit of assistance leads to increase in creativity. And I've definitely anecdotally noticed that some of them have made some really good stuff after a couple of drinks, and you just get in the mood and get excited and you get some good ideas, and it's quite a nice feeling actually.
Do you have any stories of having a bit too much and you come back to your mapping experience from the day before and you just erase it?
Not so much. I think last weekend there was a little bit of that. Not so much like this is ugly, what have I done, but my accuracy had dropped, so there was a lot of misaligned vertices on this circular portal that I was trying to make, and I was just like, I have to do this again. So the idea itself wasn't bad, but the execution had gotten sloppy.
So for anyone who's like a little bit newer to Doom, do you want to do like a quick explanation of what a portal is?
So, and speaking of such things, I will be doing tutorials at the end of the year. So if anyone has any requests, I'm happy to do a video. And portals will be one of them, because there's a few different types. So the two broad categories are sector portals and line portals. And you do have the plasma gun now as well.
Reach right. That's kind of the name of the game with these maps.
I'm quite pleased at how the raising little cubby holes coming up with 3D floor trickery. Quite nice. Yeah, so portals. So yeah, sector portals and line portals. So a sector portal is essentially a flat plane that you can layer them like sandwiches. So you'll have an upper section and a lower section, and where those two flat sections they'll overlap, they'll be layered on top of each other. So you can create stacked geometry a lot easier. It's a way to create proper 3D environments. So there's a few different types. You can do just like a purely visual one that you can't go through, which is good for doing roofs on buildings. It's a great way to detail exterior of a facade and then give it the illusion that it is truly 3D. And then you can also make them interactive, so you can go through them, which means you can actually then have combat. Monsters are actually pretty good at going through sector portals. They like cacodemons and flyers and stuff like that, and they can shoot through them. Like if you've got imps on a ledge, they'll shoot down through the portal. The Doom AI is actually pretty decent at interacting with a sector portal. They can be a bit shitty to set up, as Cyno knows. Yeah, we'll get to that one, Marissa. We'll see some of that in the map 4 on this one, actually. And then line portals are essentially the same thing, but a vertical plane, infinitely high, like a doorway. And there's some of those in this map. I don't think there's actually any... I don't think there's any sector portals in this map. Again, there's multiple types. There's simple visual ones, simple teleporters, so it's essentially just a silent line teleporter that takes you through to the next area, and then you can get fully interactive ones that are based on the Eternity engine. It actually links the two areas together physically almost, monsters and projectiles can go through. But yeah, as Marissa said, you can actually use them to create some interesting architecture loops that kind of break the laws of reality almost. There's a few laws that you got to obey in terms of the way you set the portals up to make it happen. But you can definitely do some really crazy Escher-like designs, which there's an episode in Age of Hell which is going to be Lovecraftian themed, so we're going to do some mad shit there. So no, they're frustrating to set up sometimes, but they're a great tool, and you can do some pretty good stuff with them.
Well, at a certain point, like, do you feel you can, so maybe not so much portals, but do you think you could get to a point where it's just like, oh, Doom is like 3D now, and like, what's the point? Because like the game at its heart, like when it's originally created, like everybody would always use the 2.5D meme. But do you think anything gets lost if it's like too close to, say, Quake or whatever?
There's a point where it becomes like, and to be honest, I am at this point where it's like, do you start thinking about a different engine if you want to build this kind of stuff? My issue is I don't like the bestiary or the gameplay of other games as much as I like Doom. So a lot of the stuff that I make, it would be much more efficient and easier and better done in another engine. Like even Quake 1 has a true 3D engine, and some of the stuff I've see people make for the Quake jams and stuff is just, it looks like almost like a game made today. What was it? What just came out? Aeon of Wrath.
Yeah,
yeah.
Wrath, another 3D Realms game.
That kind of style. You could do that in Doom, but it's really difficult, and can get quite performance draining with lots and lots of portals. So yeah, there's definitely a line where it's like you start thinking about building it in another game. But GZdoom's a pretty versatile port. Like you can make the Stair Track. Complete standalone games in it. It's almost a new engine in that respect. It supports 3D models, so you can make a fully model monsters, modeled weapons, and make it look very much like a modern FPS.
Yeah, I was watching your stream the one day, and you had there was a giant. It looked like kind of like a water wheel almost, but I think it was like a factory machine.
The pump jack. Yes. So that's a fully animated 3D model, that one, made for Elementalism, and yeah, it looks amazing. So you can download, you can get standard model files, OBJs, MP3s, I think is the other, and Doom will read that file perfectly. So you can make them yourself, but you can just take other existing resources out there on the internet.
Looking at Pinchy's question there in chat is like, I would say it'd be like the opposite, is if you're just sort of mapping with Doom, is you're so used to those restrictions, but then suddenly you have this element of freedom that jumps out at you, and it's like, oh, what can I do with 3D?
It's definitely something that you have to adjust to, and it's something that I've definitely changed the way I think over the last year or so. You think, where can I, as you're building, can I put a portal? Will I put a portal here? How am I going to detail this area, and how is it going to interact with 3D floors and slopes? Because there are restrictions around them a lot of the time, so you have to plan in advance how you're going to use them. But yeah, it's definitely a mindset thing, Pinchy. It just becomes second nature after a while. I was quite pleased at how this particular fight came out. It's a nice tight one.
It's cool how you have the element of darkness there too, as we got one half that's all lit up, and then going to the other half is you can't see like the specters very well. So there's like an advantage to going to your the pillar side.
And that was actually maybe not when I built it, but that was a deliberate element of the gameplay. I was like, okay, we'll keep this. My maps are generally very dark anyway, but we'll keep player quite shadowed. Chuck some specters into, and then make it a rocket-centric fight. So there's no plasma ammo in here. If you come in with a lot of plasma, you can use that potentially. But the idea was to again make it a rocket-centric fight and have the player have to be careful about the usage.
Oh, there we go. We found the staircase. But yeah, right here we can see a slope, of course. Not just a staircase waterfall. Because physically that makes a lot of sense.
I do quite like the classic Doom full textures. That's definitely having a flat and then a texture that looks different. Definitely a trope of Doom.
One sec here, one sec. Do we have more or less deaths than Jahar so far?
Definitely less. And he was playing on Hurt Me Plenty. Points to he had definite perseverance, I think is the word for his playthrough. Perseverance and stubbornness.
Got a few of those around, like whenever you're gonna go watch Tarnge or someone on stream, you gotta be ready for some 1% saves and some general craziness.
Definitely, yeah. Anyone who watched me play map 32 of Sunder would have seen a bit of that in one particular fight. There's a hedge mage section. The whole map took me 5 hours, and more than half that time was on one fight.
So as a big fan of Sunder, what'd you think of like having Insane Gazebo come back and putting out new maps? Because we never expected that would happen. We thought we had the 14 maps and that was it.
Yeah. No. Sunder was always one of my favourite WODs, just in terms of the sheer visual scale. No one makes maps like him, and it's a pretty big influence on me. So I was very excited when he came back and started making maps, and has made quite a lot of them. Pretty quick, actually. I think it was beginning of the year. I think I first saw hints of new Sunder. What was he made? Six new maps for Sunder, one of which hasn't been released yet. And then I got even more excited when he agreed to make a map for Age of Hell for me. So you're going to see a Insane Gazebo UDMF map. Oof.
I forgot about his twin buddy.
Yeah. One cyber in this area wouldn't be too much trouble, but two circling around from each side definitely adds some interest to the fight.
There we go. There's the second one. We found it.
It's been really cool meeting a lot of the kind of legends of the community over the last year or so.
Oh yeah, and everyone's like very open to helping each other too. Because it's not like we're all hiding content in their corners. It's like, I'll come out, give you advice for whatever it is, and
no, as a whole, it's a good community. There's a lot of collaboration and people willing to help.
Probably the harder part is like the split between ports is like maybe somebody who's more into Boom instead of say GZdoom, as it might be like just difficult to find people.
Not too bad. I think once you get into that, once you find your niche, because when I and the spicy boys. When I first started getting involved in the community, I was approached by Dragonfly to join the Elementalism team, and that already had a kind of good core of GZdoom UDMF talent. And yeah, you find, like you said, people spread out. Once you kind of tap into one knowledge base, you find out, you start to find that a lot of people have the same knowledge base, and I've gotten to the point where a lot of people have started approaching me to come help with Age of Hell, which has been pretty cool.
One I don't know if you can tell me, but do you think we'll get Age of Hell in 2019, or are we looking to like a 2020 release?
Nah, it'll definitely be next year.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get a demo map out beginning of next year, so I can get some feedback on the new monsters and new weapons and stuff. So should get something released into the Discord server at least to start getting some. I'll probably make a little demo map, something that's not going to stay in the game, or at least will change heavily. Just spit something quickly out and people can have a look. But I reckon end of next year is hopefully the first episode.
Okay, so we're gonna get like a beta that we can try out, or you're going to?
No,
are you gonna release it?
Staged releases.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's otherwise it'll take me 5 years, probably.
Well, it'd be like the old sets where you make 7 maps and you're like, ah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's going to be the plans to have 3 volumes, each with 2 episodes. Partly to found the secret. Ooh.
Oh, I'm too slow.
Oh, can you get it? Nope. Partly to get something out there, because otherwise, yeah, it would be too. It would be quite a long wait. I might get that more if I walk. Boink. Quite a long wait, so there's idea is to get something out. And the other reason is because there's going to be there's probably going to be something like 30 hours of gameplay, I reckon, across the 6 episodes, which is quite a lot for Doom mod. So to make it a bit more manageable for players in terms of bite-sized chunks.
Now this has to be. I think this is my favorite room in this level. Just pushing out the archviles and order in this creepy outer room.
It's definitely something, and it would have been called the second half of the map that got deleted played up on like this council of archviles kind of running the place, being the lords of the palace. So these purple archviles start appearing, and unfortunately because they had to remove that section, that kind of concept disappeared. But this room, yeah, it did come out pretty cool. It was a nice, simple visual concept, and a pretty fun fight. And you can thank my testers for the amount of archviles in there. They said it was too easy at first.
So the archviles run the show in the palace.
Yeah, that was the general idea. There was an ending idea that you get surrounded by archviles, and the last thing you hear is them waking up, and then the map just ends. Actually, was quite a cool effect. So this encounter here probably has had the most changes throughout the development. So originally there were these three ringed areas, and you teleported between them. But it got a bit monotonous. So then it became there were 3 switches that you had to flip, but they were all identical, and I definitely noticed players getting a bit lost. I thought the switches were pretty obvious, but I think because they're on those red bar faces, because there are 3 of them and they look the same, and the area's 3 almost identical circle setups. It was just taking too long for people to find progression. So it got simplified down to a single red switch and then a single switch to trigger the last fight, and I think it's a lot better. Fight's much more fast-paced, like two big waves of monsters, rather than, I think it was four waves triggered by the switches. It's much more fun having it all pile in.
Well, that's why playtesters are so necessary. It's just like, in some cases you might not go by what the majority dictates, but it's like you have to see some people play the map, and it's like I didn't think my map would be interpreted in that manner, and they just like miss the switches.
Mm-hmm. And it might be fine for 85-90% of people, but if 10% of your players are really struggling, that's probably a sign that something should be changed. So even if the majority of people are fine, if you're getting enough feedback, even if it's just through watching people and they're not necessarily complaining about it, and you watch, you think, no, I need to do better than that, I need to fix that and improve that situation. And doing things like this, being able to watch people play on stream is really a really good way to test that, both as a tester and a mapper. Get instant feedback, and you'll play through and you might not see it, but I might spot something. You go, I might change that, or I'll spot a textual alignment that no one's seen, and you go, ooh, I should fix that.
Do you have a notepad on you right now?
I do have my notepad. I haven't had to use it yet. I've still got one thing that you picked up in Crimson Chaos to fix, which is that line skip. That was so pinballing around. It was great. But apart from that, because I watched Spud Hunter play recently as well, and I didn't see anything that needed to be fixed from that. So I think we're getting pretty close to the final release.
If y'all ever have like some sort of DoomCon down there and you end up going up, you know who you're gonna see. I'll have Spuddy down there for sure.
Indeed. No, he's a pretty cool streamer. We discovered him.
Oh, I only kind of realized that his stream existed like sometime last year, but it's like you get so used to who you've followed that it's very easy to miss like the rest of who's on Twitch.
Yeah, and I don't watch a lot of the popular games like your Fortnites and your PUBGs and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really interest me, so I don't move in the popular streamer circles. It's a lot more, a lot of pretty much Doom, so much more niche. And the only way I really discover them is through raids. So if someone raids another Doom streamer, that's generally how I discover them, which is why raids are cool. And Spud, the reason I found Spud Hunter was insane because Zebo knows him. Or knew him before me, and he said, well, he's going to be playing your match. So like, oh, I better go say hi.
And Spud Hunter is going to give you a different experience than like what I'm going to do on stream. You're going to have more close-ups with a webcam.
It's definitely an interesting presentation. I'm not a huge fan of gimmicky stuff like that, but he pulls it off. Like that's a big ball Revenant Rockets. Yeah, he's pretty self-deprecating, which I think you need to be to have that kind of cheesy element. It's a pretty polished setup as well, very professional in terms of the quality of transitions and stuff like that. So he's not half-assing it. He's definitely full-assing. And yeah, he's and the other thing that's quite good with watching him play Doom is he plays a lot of other FPS. Like he's a big Quake player. So he's got a different gameplay style and a different perspective, and he's not he doesn't look at it from such a critical element, but from an entertainment point of view. So it was just another perspective on. Oh, you got lucky with that.
Oh, I got smoked by the Revenant.
Oh, there you go.
You got me. Would have been too easy if we could finish this in the first attempt. Whereas me, on the other hand, sometimes I think I'm like the boomer doomer. It's like, oh man, I feel like just an old man when I play Doom.
Oh, it is an old game. 25 years old.
Oh yeah, I wasn't that old when it actually released. I played it myself, but I was like watching my brother.
Yeah, I think it would have been 9 or 10 when it came out. 8. That's right. So here's back to the portals. So these big red planes that appear, those are actually monster closets. So the conundrum of how do I, rather than just having everything teleport in repetitively, how do I change things up for the second wave? But because I made the outsides all open, I can't do big traditional Doom closets with 50 revenants inside, with wall lowers or a door opens. So the way around that was to create these portals as closets that the player can't go through, but the monsters can decant out in a big wave. It actually worked really well. So they activate for the second stage because you can turn portals on and off with certain portal types. So that was a new thing. Ooh.
Gonna try a new strategy. One sec. Try some rockets. It's tough when you get Archies and they get in the middle of a mass of monsters because you just can't get to them.
Yes. it's like, you gotta try and lure them out, or snipe them off. There's quite a few. That's something that I've picked up from Sunder, is the art of archvile management, because they're not an immediate threat. Like some archviles you have to kill straight away because they're on a pillar or they're coming straight for your face. You've got to kill them. But these ones, they're in a pack. There's plenty of cover, so you don't have to go out and target them down straight away. But you need to find a way to pick them off while a whole lot of other bullshit's happening.
Yes. As your life slowly gets down and you get they attack you from long range, and you're getting kind of death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. If you accidentally tag an archvile with a BFG tracer, well, then they might aggro against you as well. So there's that to keep in mind, that you don't want to accidentally hit one while they're halfway through their firing animation and have them quickly switch and do that.
Yeah.
That's another interesting mechanic from the archvile, is they've got a state or a decorate flag that means that they instantly retarget if they're hit, either by the player or a monster. Ooh, you got him. That's a good clean out.
Good so far. We need to go back and find the Megasphere so that we can have safety for the last part. But yeah, you hit an archvile when they're at the end of the channeling, and they just take a 90 damage chunk out of you.
Yeah, just like, hey, oh, hi there. You want to talk to me, do you? Bang. But you can also use that to your advantage. If they are targeting, you can position yourself so that other monsters hit them, and they redirect their ire. But yeah, I definitely think this fight is much better than it was in its original iteration.
There we are. Whew.
There we go. There's one more hiding around.
Showing me no mercy. Do you find the balancing when you're initially making like these huge fights, because it's kind of tough to see, is do you find you overtune them at first, or you undertune and then you add monsters?
I tend to start with more resources than needed. I think it's better for your testers. Like, so if your testers, particularly in Slaughter, can't finish the map because there's not enough ammo or there's not enough health, that's bad. It means that they get halfway through a fight and go, well, I can't finish this, and give it back to you. That's not good. For me, it's better, I think, to have it a bit easier, and certainly in terms of resource distribution. That way, you know that they're going to have enough stuff to finish the fight, and then they can say, oh, I had 600 cells left over at the end of this fight, and there were 3 boxes still there. You can probably turn the ammo down a little bit, or there were 2 megaspheres left over that I didn't need. So while I'll tend to start pretty hard with the monster placement, the actual resource placement, I'll always have set generously to begin with, because as the map maker, the person who knows how the fight goes, you will always do it more efficiently than your testers, or most of the time. Someone like Nevernos is a freak. Seems to carry cells around in his pocket. That he brings out for fights, and uses only half the ammo that everyone else does. But generally, there's map maker's bias. You'll always be better at your map than your testers. And the other one is always make sure that you can beat the fight without finding any secrets. If secrets are necessary, then they stop becoming secrets.
Oh boy.
Ooh, that body block.
Because there's so many corpses, you can't see the health packs.
Most of the megaspheres are in those little. Oh yeah, I do have those little stim packs. Yeah. There's a decently generous. There is a depending on how much you use in previous fights, there's a generous amount of resources in this one. I think.
Oh yeah, the only time we had trouble with ammo through the playthrough on this map was in the very first area.
Which you have that berserk, and which is enough to deal with everything in a if you need it. Fighting peas with rockets is always a fraught but fun exercise.
I think that's everything.
It's looking pretty clear.
Okay, let's go find the exit.
Yes, that's one thing that I realized after watching people play is, my exits weren't that clear a lot of the time, so I actually went and put exit signs.
We'll find it. Just give me a couple minutes.
Just as I'm saying it, I made it a lot clearer and stumbling around in the dark.
Yes.
There you go.
It's the Palace of the Black Singularity.
There you go. GG.
It's a real cool starter, but it's like, it's a gigantic map, like having 1700 monsters. It's not, say, I'm thinking like Swim with the Whales, where you have the map where there's nothing on it. There's no monsters. It's just a hub map so that you can go further. You get to map 2 with like 100. That's not the Bridgeburner style. It's go big or go home.
Yeah. I do like my thick monster counts. Ironically, the lowest monster count's the last map in this one, and it's only got about 50, like 52.
So you do it the opposite. You go down in difficulty or down in monsters.
Yeah, not down in difficulty. You'll see. I'm quite proud of that map. It's quite polarizing, the last one, but we won't spoil anything.
So is this,
that's Palace of Singularity.
Is the Palace the first map that was made? Was this like the first creation?
It was. Yeah. So their maps are actually in the order that they were made as well, which they do. I think it's a good sequence, and I think the maps get better from a technical gameplay perspective. I still really like Palace of the Black Singularity. I think visually it's really striking, particularly that opening scene. So it's a good opening map for that reason. It looks very memorable. And there's a lot of good like vistas in there that I think lodge in the player's mind quite well. Whereas some of the other maps are a bit more, particularly Dragons and Void are a little bit more subtle in their opening shots. So I like the map sequence. I think it works really well.
Yeah. We'll move on to map 2, Crimson Chaos, where like right away in every map that I've seen there's totally a different color scheme. Like looking out on the start here is already in the void, instead of having kind of the diamonds that we see in just the constellations, is now we're going for big frickin' pentagrams.
Yeah, so this map gets a bit more evil in its imagery. So those pentagrams are actually sector slopes. So those are not textures. I made those. There's a little, you can make a pentagram, then squish it up with a scale function, and then slope the sector. And it was just a bit of experimenting, and it came out really nice. So I put them everywhere.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. I can't count that high.
Yeah, fully ring the map, and definitely easier ways to do it. With in a skybox or something like that. But it wasn't actually that. It wasn't too hard, and it came out. Sarah David has 6, doesn't it? I know it's not upside down. In hindsight, it probably should have been upside down. But they look cool. I like them.
And we're going into kind of a green and a red complex with like wings hanging off.
Yeah, so this map was more heavily planned at the beginning. So I wanted the idea of a castle on a kind of a rocky outcropping, and then this was like a guardhouse entrance. So I've actually got some pretty detailed sketches of these things. The original gameplay ideas for this area were pretty terrible, to be honest. Both sides were fairly identical, pretty monotonous fights with the shotgun and the chain gun. So I was talking to Scotty one day, and he was talking about how you can very much change the way a map plays by giving a more powerful weapon at the start. I thought, we'll open up with a rocket launcher then and make force the player to use that and have to be careful with splash damage, and it'll make the fights faster as well. So it was a good idea from him. Very Jewish level. And so these are portals again. So another, more experimentation. You get some sound clipping bugs and there's some AI bugs if you go inside them. So, in hindsight, I would do things a little bit differently. But it came out good enough to leave them in, and it was another way to create a more interesting space that changes as the fight goes on. So,
I'm playing all around with your sound clip, and then I get myself killed. I don't know. I'm too cocky for my own good.
But because when you drop through there, you can, if you fall into the void, you re-teleport back into the middle. That creates either something that can kill the player like that, or can be manipulated by the player to make the fight easier.
So why did you decide on the teleport instead of killing the player?
That was that's a remnant from the original Mega Wad. It's decided that every map would have that mechanic, and I quite like it. There's not too many places where it really matters in terms of gameplay. It's more just if you fall into the void, you just get taken back to a central point. It was just an easy way to manage having the sky feature really heavily in the geo. Hey, Granger. But there was a Doom 2016 screenshot that was not 2016 Doom Eternal. It came out, was released a couple of months ago, and it was very similar to this area. I got a few comments on Twitter and said, "Is this one of your maps?"
Oh, what a great death! Because I only have the rocket launcher, so I can't really push them away unless I just want to blast myself to smithereens.
That was the plan. There is a super shotgun in there, so you do get some assistance, but that was exactly the plan. It's to make the player have to be careful about where they stand. So one of the issues I had with this map, and credit to Sino for helping me with this, is his idea was, because I had this guardhouse set up and then a long kind of winding path up kind of a hill to the castle, big sight lines, lots of lines, FPS from this point looking towards the main structure was pretty abysmal. So one thing that I did, and this is Sino's idea, was to chop the map up into 3 pieces with portals, and then I could do essentially a low poly version or low line version of the things in the distance. So drastically reduce the line count in terms of what you could see. And then when you go through the portals, you go through to a section that's made properly, and then it reverses the place where you just came from. You see a low line count version. Back the way you came, and it worked well. Saved the map, to be honest. Doing some middies, AD. That sound clipping bug is unavoidable, unfortunately, with that type of portal. Oof. That's a good dodge.
There we go. We got him. Yeah, you go in here and you can. It sounds like. Or like all the sounds from the enemies just disappear. So it's like they
you're
can
actually going into a different area. So when you go through those portals, you're actually halfway across the map. So you're nowhere near where the sound's being generated anymore, so it disappears.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that's just there's a static portal I think doesn't do that, but you can't change static portals. Static. So it wouldn't work in that situation, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a few tricks you can do with portals, Kraja, that actually help optimize, which I've learned over the last year or so.
No, I'm happy you've looked into that, because I feel like if you didn't look into, say, FPS issues or people that would have like weaker computers and then they would try it, it's like, okay, this looks excellent, it looks beautiful, but then you would get a bad review out of it. 2 out of 5, unplayable, bad FPS.
I mean, there's always most of my maps they're always going to be pretty taxing. So you know, if you can't run, you know, the modern GZdoom because there's a vintage build which uses an old renderer. Pretty much if that's the only version of GZdoom you can run, there's not much chance of actually being able to play these maps. But one thing I'm thinking about for Age of Hell is doing a proper bells and whistles build, all the shiny stuff, and then maybe an optimized build where a lot of the special effects are removed. You know, maybe cutting down the dynamic light counts and going, you know, chucking some broad sector lighting in so that they can see, but simplifying enough to make it with, you know, so that people with slightly weaker machines can play it. Would be a bit of that would be appreciated. Not a huge priority at this point, but it's definitely something I'm keen to try.
Well, in like a text file or something that say comes with the zip file, do you have like an explanation or like recommendations for settings on?
I will do that. You can actually lock a lot of the settings as well through map info, game info. One of the GZdoom text files that you put in a WAD, you can actually you can't lock them, but you can set them for the player. A lot of the light settings in particular. So I'll do some research and figure out which ones I can do that with, and you know, say, look, this is the preferred, you know, how I play it and how I think you should play it, but then people can go and change them manually if they want. And I might make it something that you can remove optionally. There's a lot of options for that kind of stuff, particularly with ZScript.
Section is brutal because you kind of go into one section, but it's like it's difficult to backtrack, and then having like the darkness with the monsters, it's just tough to see the angle that they're shooting you from.
All quite deliberate. This was I think I've been playing Sunless because this is a fight that this map had probably the most changes in terms of combat from the original. This fight changed a lot, and yeah, those floating pillars with the lights, I must have been playing Sunless when I put those in. It's very Rubik's inspired. The floating rocks, yeah, those are 3D models. So that big archway that you go through with the yellow sides, that's actually a portal. So you've now gone into a different section. So I was talking about how I chopped it up. Yeah.
We'll show this on the minimap.
Yeah, so you're actually teleporting to a new section. So that's part of that chopping up that I was talking about, which worked well.
So is this portal, is it used, it's purely for FPS, so you don't have to look?
Yep. That was the main reason for these. And I think it means that the vista changes as well a bit. I think it still looks really good, but that was the reason that those were put in was for optimization, and it definitely worked. Let's try and show an example of this, because like when I start, I get a little bit of lag like right on the start of map 1. Yeah, so that's so this is an area that could have benefited from that. It's borderline, but it's a harder area to chop up. It's tighter. But this is the worst FPS in the entire WAD. Is this first section? There's about 22,000 lines, and there's a portal, a sector portal. So there's a sector portal in here. In this map, to create this castle that you're on, that's actually 2 layers to give it that 3D look. So you can see that outer square is the portal plane. Okay, yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, in hindsight, I would have changed things, but it's lessons learned, and at this point, it's not worth doing drastic surgery to that map. It's been people have pointed out that the FPS drops in that particular section are severe in a couple of spots, but it's not enough. People haven't raged over it too much. On we continue. Yeah. So one of the other things that was done to this section to help with frames was these big sigils on the ground were originally done with sectors, just made in the map. That's actually a texture now. So I got a friend to make them into textures for me, and it's just a 3D floor placed over it now. which made a big difference because I saved about 7,000 lines, I think, by doing that in a few spots in this map.
Now I want to see you, because so M-Trop with the Dimensions of Time, with the with what he was using, he could have a maximum of 1,200 like side defs and like.
He was using the shareware version of Deep Sea, which is the
Yes.
first editor that I used. Yep. I actually paid for the full version of Deep Sea back in the day. It came in the mail on a floppy disk.
And how much was it for Deep Sea?
I think it was $15. So not a huge cost, but amusing given how good Doom Builder is and it's free. So I used that for probably 10 years. I'm very familiar with it. You want to run?
How'd I go?
I know, Jaws. You can slide through the monsters. Yeah. Originally, you had to rocket your way out of there. It was widely decried by my testers. This is not a good encounter. I like the idea of you teleporting into like this ring trap with the monsters, that have set up for you. But it was a little bit too random, inconsistent even for me getting out of it without dying. So change it so the monsters are a little bit more spread, and you can actually walk between them. So as long as you're quick, you get out of it pretty easily.
So, what'd you get with the paid version of Deep Sea? Like, how was it different from the trial version in like space you would get for a map?
More lines. That's it. So it removed. Well, it still had a line def and a side def limit, but it was something like 20,000. So essentially, it removed that shareware restriction in terms of the amount of lines and sides you could have. That was it, I think. So for me, for someone like to make big maps, it was definitely worth it. I'd say I got my money's worth out of it. Found one of the switches.
That switch. Oh, backpack.
And you can thank Nevernost for the pain sectors. That's his suggestion.
That's a typical Nevernost
Yeah.
addition.
Pretty
Make it
much
harder.
pain sectors. Yeah, pretty much. So there were 2 switches on those pillars.
2, not 1. Oh, okay. You just saved me 5 minutes.
I'm a fan of symmetry. I find it hard to not. So those switches were a lot harder to see originally. I made them bigger and put the torches on top to help lead the player. So that has now activated this next portal. So you've gone through to another section. So you're actually back in the original area that you were. So if you can see the gatehouse off there to the left.
So why would I guess of course we have it in that top situation, but yeah, I guess it's all like the layout of the map, because you would think like in terms of FPS, if we're using the previous example, we had a portal. Our first example, we had a portal because of lag, but this one is probably a space restriction portal, I'd guess.
It was part of the same. So this middle section that you're about to go through, that was all a continuous from the start to the end. So this section got cut and spliced together to create essentially 3 different areas. It was all about optimization. It's come out. I think it's created a pretty cool effect as well. But it's entirely performance.
Is this Doom 3?
Large circular arena. To be fair, you do see them quite a bit.
I think this arena here is more monsters than all of Doom 3.
Yeah. I think there's a limit of 12 at any one time active in Doom 2016. Doom 3 must be.
They did a good job of kind of faking how much you could have on screen at a time.
I think so. It definitely feels pretty. Some of the fights do feel nice and full. it is a shame though, because it does limit how hard they can make each fight. And it's my biggest criticism of Doom 2016 was just it's a bit easy. It's still a heap of fun, but because I recently replayed it on Ultraviolence, and yeah, the Spider Mastermind, the last boss of the map, killed it first try. It's like it should be a little bit tougher than that.
Well, it would be tougher if you played on Nightmare.
Well, that's next. I'm definitely going to play that before Eternal comes out. Yeah, it might be a little bit more cruncher, but it is definitely a heavy limit on how many you get in any single combat scene.
No problem, John. Good luck. Good luck in your tournament.
Hey, Mr. K.
I think Doom Eternal should probably, like, it's using a new id Tech engine, so I assume we might get some differences in, like, monsters on screen at once.
Hopefully, because I know Nevernos got to play it at QuakeCon, and he said it was definitely harder, which has me excited.
He was at the European QuakeCon?
Yes, yeah, in London. London? Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, him and Dragonfly and Liberation, I think we went together.
A funny story, I was talking to Dragonfly about QuakeCon, and he said, oh, I'm coming down to QuakeCon. I'm like, awesome. It's going to be great to go and meet Dragonfly for the first time. And then, like, a month later, he's like, oh, I'm going to European QuakeCon. I'm like, what's European QuakeCon?
It's like, hang on a sec.
Wait.
There are other countries.
So I did not get to meet Dragonfly. I was rather disappointed.
Yeah, it's a shame there isn't QuakeCon in New Zealand, unfortunately. Not really. We don't quite have the population base for it.
Maybe you can start one up.
Gather ye doomers. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Archvile is managed in Eternal Doom. I'm really glad that it's there, and it looks like the actual Archvile. But I'm a little bit thinking it might be a boss, which would make me a bit sad if there's only one. But I'm just happy to see it.
Well, it wouldn't be confirmed just by seeing it in a fight, because if you recall the trailers for just Doom 4s, there was like the Cyber Demon that was in a random place. They didn't just show it in the big arena, so I think we thought the Cyber Demon was a normal enemy. Like, it's just in an arena, it came from nowhere.
Because that new, is it the Hunter? The Doom Hunter they called it? That looks like a monster that you kind of fight as a boss initially, and then it appears multiple times later on, which if they do it with the Archvile, hopefully that's the case. But yeah, I'm just pleased to see him.
Or we could see like maybe the Archvile for the first time, and then I don't know, like, maybe it's just a full like summoner replacement.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. I'm curious to see how they manage, how they control its effects. Yeah, obviously you can't resurrect monsters because the corpses disappear.
These Arachnotrons, but we're all kind of waiting because we thought, oh, it was going to come out 8 days ago.
When that first trailer little snippet came out of him, the Doom guy walking across the blasted earth, and the see that Spider Mastermind, and then that Archvile appears up on the pile of bones, and I was very excited when I saw that the first time.
At QuakeCon, with the introduction to the Archvile, everybody just went crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking of Archviles, pressing that button and running away is not a good idea. It's still my favorite moment of seeing people play this map was Jiha's reaction to that trap. The panic was severe. Oh yeah, multiple Archviles. That could be cool. It does seem like the Sibbies are going to be, a monster appearing again, which would be good.
Just keeps resurrecting. Yeah.
Yeah, getting blasted in here made it, made that a tricky one.
So restart.
I do not saved. Oh dear.
Clip the master level in the pre-order showed multiple archviles, cybers, and hunters. But either way, just looking forward to the release. That's why I upgraded my computer recently. Just moved up to like a Zen 2 processor and just stuff like that for a little upgrade.
Nice. Yeah, I got a new rig this year. It was well overdue, but definitely Doom Eternal was on the brain. It's like, yeah, I want to play that properly. Because when I first played Doom 2016, I could only just run it. Talking 10 FPS most of the time on the lower settings. So it was nice playing through the new rig playing Doom 2016 and a nice smooth experience.
Yeah, it's like pretending Doom 4 was released on the Super Nintendo. Getting about the same frames. I made a mistake when it came out because I didn't realize that my CPU was having trouble running Doom 4 with it and OBS. So I was getting like more lag than I originally thought. Ooh.
Yeah, the streaming software can tax your computer quite hard sometimes.
Well, yeah, and if it's getting overtaxed, it gives you the equivalent of frame drops, but it doesn't really show it as frame drops.
Right. So the viewers get a bit of stuttering, but it doesn't actually register on the...
Yeah. Like, it tells you that your CPU is having problems, but it's just like, I didn't think the FPS was that bad.
I had to switch back to Streamlabs because I was using OBS for a while, and I was getting this weird echo, and I would reinstall, and the echo would go away, and it would come back the next day. And I did this several times, and reset up my profiles and all this stuff, and lots of research on the internet. And tried all sorts of mic settings, and definitely checked I didn't have the stream open in another window, but I just could not get rid of it. And there was a bunch of streams where it was haunted. It's this very odd auditory echo that would the delay with the echo would get longer and longer as the stream went on as well. So it would start off quite close and synced, and then it would just slowly creep out further and further. It's the weirdest thing. It's strange, but
I would even take me out.
Sniped.
A serious problem I had once was to do with a codec. So I had to find like the AAC codec versus like the normal one that they have in OBS.
I didn't try changing any of those. Maybe that was the issue. Because I know Streamlabs is a bit more CPU intensive, but with the new computer, it's not an issue. Certainly not for Doom.
I'm gonna save it after this encounter so that we can get further.
Well, I do like playing hard WADs. I hate doing stuff more than once. I tend to save scum. I don't, unless it's really hard. I don't abuse it too much, but I'm not a fan of going through encounters more than once generally. So I tend to use saves pretty liberally.
And saved.
And if I'm doing things like Sunder, I tend to have 4 or 5 rolling saves. I don't save myself in a bad position, because there's nothing worse than thinking you're getting through a fight and you're saving, and then you realise that you're boxed into a corner with no hope of escape. Or you do that classic save just before a cyber demon rocket hits you in the face.
I had a classic on Memento Mori 2 where we're going up some kind of abstract staircase with a couple chain gunners on the sides, and I saved right as I was getting hit with a hit scan. Had to restart the map.
Yeah. Ooh. It's that face rocket. One of the good things about, I'm not sure if Boom does the same thing, but if you do end up saving, just before you get hit by a cyber demon or a revenant rocket ball, as the game's loading, if you hold movement keys, it'll actually preload the momentum, so you start off at a full run. I've had to use that a few times to get out of bad saves.
This is a secret? And it looks like it. I have to remember that one.
It is a secret. Most people don't find that one, which means it's a good secret.
You prefer players have a hard time finding them?
I think... no, not... probably not. I like secrets that are relatively hard to find, but not too obtuse. To be fair, I'm really bad at finding secrets myself, so I find them actually quite hard to judge. But I do try and signal secrets like the soul suit that you got back in the other area, down that little cut out walkway in the rocks. There's just a trail of candles leading the way. I do try and make it reasonably some sort of visual signal, some lighting or a candle or a texture change to show that there's a secret. Painkiller, which I'm halfway through replaying that has some of the most obtuse secrets in any game I've ever played.
It's got some good, some good rewards when you find them, though.
Very satisfying. Very satisfying when you get them. I really like that. And the gate, you just know that the secrets are hard to find, and you get in the right certain kind of mindset for how they've placed them. So if it's consistent, I'm not too worried. Rubik's makes pretty obscure secrets, but that's all his maps are like that. It's just the nature of his style. So just so you drop down just as you're firing that rocket.
Fantastic. Where's the Megasphere?
Yeah, now you need it.
Awesome. Unlike, say, Serious Sam, where you know where all the secrets are, but you're not sure if you want to pick it up. What do you think of the Painkiller expansions? Did you go and play all the expansions, or?
No, I haven't. I've got Black Edition on Steam, which I think has a new episode. So I haven't played them actually, so I'll give them a shot. I've heard that they're not as good as the original. But no, I haven't actually played them.
I've heard there's one of the expansion feels like an actual sequel, and then the rest are buyer be warned.
Right.
Come on, Kako.
Right.
Come to the fray.
He ended up over there. He's actually behind a block line there. You'll be able to kill him later, but if he's up on those stairs, those stairs have block lines because there's another fight later that I needed to hem the stop flyers from floating across the entire map. They like to do that in Doom, GZdoom.
Okay, so we finished that one. What's another switch that I missed?
It's that big skull by the lift. That released the Archviles last time. Was the where you need to head to next.
I don't know how I pressed the switch for a second time and we had the third archvile come out afterwards.
I think there's 4. Yep, there we go.
The claustrophobic fight down here where we get sections that open up.
Yes, so this was put in. Again, yeah, this whole stair section, the original fight was scrapped. Just a whole lot of shit walked in. It was pretty dull. And then so I added in, yeah, slightly more tighter encounter. I think Ribbit's inspired this one. Lots of things moving around and stuff changing. And I actually think this is, some people have said this is their favourite fight, this particular one with the Hell Knights. Big gang of Hell Knights chasing you around, got a couple of Archies there. Doing some area denial, and then the Reds on the pillars. It's, you know, a little bit asymmetric in terms of the setup, which gives it some variety. Yeah, give yourself some space now, haven't you? That's good.
It is Doom 3S though, in like the darkness. There was the joke earlier in chat, but it's like true. It's very disorienting.
I like my dark maps. But it does add a different dynamic to the gameplay as the character. But I like high contrast lighting. This is one of the darker maps that I've made. That's definitely the case. And these stairs are particularly moody.
But I think the darkness lets the like a lot of the features that you put in the brightness of like the green castle down the way really contrast with it. Though it makes my life a living hell.
It's a pretty place to die.
The spine to the center of the earth. They're digging the China.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that idea from, but it was something that I tried. I was like, is this going to look good or just kind of gimmicky? But it actually came out quite nice, and it masks that transition quite nicely where the Kako wall then appears. Just trying to think where your next megasphere is.
Oh, I went down. Well, 20% after this fight, are we stuck with 20?
There is some health after the Kako wall. It's not a slaughter map if you don't have a dubious save in terms of health numbers.
I want a chart with the splash damage numbers on each one of these rockets. Yeah. We got this.
I think this is definitely, because generally I think playing with auto aim and no free look is pretty balanced versus playing with free look and no auto aim, which is what I obviously do. But here, with the auto aiming, it makes it hard to target the archviles specifically. So being able to choose where your rocket's going means you can burn them down a lot more consistently. So it's interesting seeing that particular preference having an impact. The other advantage of being able to choose where you're going is you can lead your shots a bit easier. Those archies are running down the stairs, all zigzagging. That soul really wants you to eat that rocket.
I keep pressing T in the middle of combat to type.
Oh, I do that as well. It's like, why can't I move? I'm trying to talk to someone. So I think there's definitely a place where using auto aim makes this fight quite a bit harder.
Would you say it's balanced then? Non-auto aim?
I think generally it's fine. But I'd say it's generally, I think it's probably slightly harder without. Oh, you didn't save after you killed the archies. That being said, it is designed for GZdoom for free look for jumping. So it can be done with the classic no jumping, no free look. It is possible, which I think is good. But that's don't do a cut block.
And the ability just to not really be able to see the cacodemons that are straight above. Like, how far up are they?
Yeah, I think that's probably the other major difference is you can't look up. You could be a caco directly above you, about to sit on your head and chew your face off. There is his health to the left. There's a couple of packs, I think, around that big structure. The other side. It's one of the few places where not having jump. You can get back out, but not having jump might cause a few issues. Well, maybe you can't get around from the side without jump.
Fine, I'll use jump. A little bit sacrilege, but...
There you go. Took a few things around here, just in case.
Now you gotta go back and put an extra stair.
Yeah. I might actually do that. I didn't realise, because I knew that this side you couldn't go around, but I didn't realise that you couldn't get in without jump, because a lot of people do like to play like that, and I have made the WOD not 100% deliberately from the beginning, but it is definitely doable without jump.
This is like the Serpentine map that Skillsaw made in the one set where you go around and around and just full of these symbols.
It was definitely so this is where this is where the final fight is, in the central structure. But it's actually where I started making the map. This is the first thing I built.
Cool climax of the fight, and then everything comes afterwards.
Yeah. I quite like foreshadow things that are going to happen later. You got the cyber demons up on the pillars. When are they going to come up? You don't know at this point, but you know that they will.
Because I always think of these giant kind of palace/cathedral settings, like it always makes me think that there's like a final boss that is going to come out. Have you done any stuff with like its own monsters?
So Age of Hell now has a completely custom bestiary. So we're remaking. Originally, it was going to be just each episode was going to have some additions, some episode specific stuff, but we've ended up remaking everything, and the new stuff, the stuff that's replacing existing mobs, will be pretty similar in terms of behavior and the way that they're used. So, which will help both the mappers, know how to place the monsters, and retain a good degree of familiarity for the players. And will still throw a fireball. There'll be a chain gunner style monster that does a big spray of bullets. Although there's no hit scan in it. Changing everything to projectiles, kind of like Doom 2016. And adding kind of a little bit of new stuff to the replacements. So the imps, they've got like a little dash that they can do, and they're a bit faster than the traditional imp.
Why won't you give me health, Bridge? Jesus.
I don't think I've seen someone. I think it was that 20% save. There is. I was trying to think. Where my next? Oh, there is a soul sphere and a mega armor close. Definitely a dubious save.
Oh, chain gunners too.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. But yeah, there will be some completely new and novel monsters. So including boss monsters. Hey, Arling. Boss monsters for each episode. So there's going to be 2, I think, in every episode. A mid-episode boss and a final boss. Definitely going to have some fun with those. We've made just the episode 1 bosses so far. And by the way, I mean Mr. Cat. His fine work. Very good, very talented asset creator and coder.
Yeah, triple kill. Oh, I keep falling down. Back up the staircase. Where'd you get the midis from for this one?
So this one is from a YouTube artist called Technicalities. Does a lot of royalty-free, kind of synthwavy metal, dubsteppy kind of, good game music, to be honest. Oh, that mankiness. So this track, the opening track for Palace, the first one, are both by him. I can't remember who made the second music piece for Palace, the Genty one, but that's another royalty-free one from YouTube. And then the track on the next map was actually made for the map. It's an original composition. So yeah, Technicalities. He does really nice stuff.
Who did the original composition?
His name's A90 Doom Guy, I think is the he goes by. One of those people who changes his name every now and then, but I'm pretty sure that's the... I'm not 100%... Yeah, you can check the credits. I'm not 100% certain. Can't remember now. But Technicalities is really cool. He does a lot of, really good game style music, I think. And, that kind of synthwavy vibe. Perfect for this kind of visual. A Wall of Anger is this track, I think.
When you have so many monsters on a map that you're fighting, is just having like a long, slow track when it doesn't feel like a brooding map. It's just not the atmosphere that you're looking for. Like making the player fall asleep, but they gotta fight like 100 revenants. Like, this doesn't add up.
That's definitely, one of those things that icing on the cake. Yeah, it seems to be stuck. Oh, you fall asleep somehow. Yeah, good music matching the gameplay. Okay, you're pretty close to the.
That's an even worse save.
Oh yeah, that was a dubious one.
Get excited at beating the previous part and just feeling of getting the Nevenos blood pools.
Yeah. Another notch on his belt. Another kill for Nev. That's good news to save your well, almost full health. Damn it, Nev. Never's too good at Doom. Yeah, so each one of these wings, you'll see there'll be a blue glow. See the soul sphere there? Ah, no, access denied. And there's mega armor on the other side.
I killed myself.
Yeah, I was wondering if at one point I was wondering if I should have added more of that particular color, but I think it's quite nice in these little hallways, just as a little point of difference. Goes well with the red.
Does this rocket have a different range of splash than like I ever thought?
It's an extra thick rocket.
Yeah. Good time to bring out the popcorn just to watch this death fest.
Yep. Hey, Tango. Yes, delicious death.
Deathburner 56.
Once you've committed to the 20% health save, you need to kind of double down on it and save scum the fuck out of it.
Oh,
right,
yes.
you don't want to press that. You don't want to press that button until you grab the there's a soul sphere on the other side as well. Normally I don't help out too much, but you've earned it, I think, for this one.
Oh, I know what fight's coming up. I remember this one.
I had fun making so this is another fight that changed drastically. Like I said early on, this map had the most gameplay changes. These two plateaus, it was just originally a big monster soup, pretty dull and repetitive. So I chiseled in some different ideas. Another pitch black area. Yes, definitely heavily Rivix inspired. The visuals in this, so it was quite an interesting exercise shoehorning this encounter into the existing geometry. So this drop down, wasn't planned when I first built it, but the shape, that kind of bladed shape, definitely lent itself to a pretty good encounter, I think.
Yeah, the decorations, the decorations have taken me out a few times, just shooting at them. Right there for unfortunate splash.
Oh, should have triggered the Archies. Okay.
Oh, it just makes me think with all the lights kind of going up and down, it's right when the movie starts in the theater. Ready, and you get the dimming effect.
I do like making my mad light sequences. Yeah, not nice. But yeah, definitely Sunlust inspiration there.
1, let's press 2.
Back up we go.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I give you a few. There's a few stimbacks. This fight. The reason this fight stayed in is largely because of a script, that warp-in effect. If you stand in the middle, they come in a big wave around you. It looked really cool. It was fun to make. I couldn't bring myself to remove it. It's a pretty straightforward run around in a circle, kill all the imps. It doesn't take too long. It's not the most imaginative combat, but I think it's a fun little cathartic massacre.
Have you played Doom 2016? Do you like it better than the OG?
I have played it, and I think it's a fantastic game. I really like it. When I first played it, when it came out, I remember thinking just like, this is so much fun. We were talking about it earlier, and it's a bit easy. It's my biggest criticism. But that's an insta pile of rockets there. As a presentation and an experience, it's pretty flawless, to be honest. The music, I remember just thinking, the soundtrack is so good. Oh, yeet it out!
Yeah.
I don't think that has any gameplay implications. I don't think I've ever seen someone get bounced out.
Boy.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's really good. I think the original Doom has got better longevity. Like the fact that it's still being played 25 years after it came out makes it a better game.
I just think the original has, like, as we were talking about with like the 12 monster limit, is it just has like more variety that you can do. Like with Doom 2016, is I really found that towards the end, and it was like the major complaint is that you saw the same setups coming over and over. Whereas, like, say, if you're playing Doom 2, it's like I can point out every single map and probably remember the encounter. Like if we go to Monster Condo, there's the 4 pillars that come down with Revenants, the 2 Mancubi rooms, and the symmetric area. If we go to Suburbs, like the big slaughter fight. Whereas in like Doom 2016, I can explain the arenas to you, the frost of the Vega map with the canisters that you have to blow up. I know there's the monorail fight, but like the fights themselves, I bet you can't really like, how do the fights go? I bet you can't really explain it because they mesh
very much so. And like you say, you can describe the arena quite well. Like the way they look is distinctive, but in terms of what monsters come and when and where are they standing, because they all just kind of pile in, just big warp-ins. There'll be the odd fight with a Baron that might stand out, but in terms of their placement, they're all just, it is a bit of a mishmash. Definitely agree. It's interestingly enough, for a game with a lot of arenas, the set piece design is not particularly distinctive. Well, they're not really set pieces. It's just you just happen to be locked into a room, and then you fight some monsters, and then you get locked into another room and fight some more monsters. But with all the flaws, which are valid, as far as if you judge a game by how much you enjoy it, I definitely enjoyed Doom 16. I can't really fault it. So I had fun. So this is another, this and the previous fight where you sucked down, it's exactly the same shaped areas. So the challenge for me was to make 2 different fights within the same kind of geometry, and I think I did a pretty good job of making them wildly different. And we're really happy with how they came out. And actually, half decent Spider Mastermind usage.
Yes, not too many of those.
Definitely one of the hardest monsters to use.
Don't break your keyboard.
My noisy mechanical keyboard and me stomping on it is a bit of a meme at this point. Is he fighting? Fighting one of them. She fighting. There is a good stack of health up under the mastermind.
It's a case where just having the turret monsters, you feel justified in killing them before the mastermind.
Yes, yeah, well, it allows you to stay still a little bit easier. I love this technique. Proving that the map can be done without free look.
Yes.
That was great.
You can't shoot the mastermind very well from, like, without using the towers.
Yeah, with free look, there's actually pretty much a place you can stand and just you can aim at the top of the hitbox because they're so massive. It's not too hard, but yeah, with free look, obviously it aims not the middle, the base of the hitbox, certainly not the top. I'm cheesing my map.
Yeah, I want to see this fight in third person, just seeing Doom Guy going up and down this stupid platform and... Okay, let's get my health.
There we go. GG. Right.
Like when you're watching somebody else play multiplayer, and they're just sitting there for a half hour, and you're hoping that the last person in the survival game can get past the mastermind.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before, spectating and going, "Come on, you can do it."
Or that guy that just goes too slow in all the content they do, and you know they're gonna go down. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. The only place with non-damaging blood, because I thought this fight would be a little bit nasty with it. It's nasty enough as it is. Actually, it's not true.
How do you go about grouping together playtesters? Because one problem, if you just take, say, Nevanos and having him do the testing for all your maps, then like you're gonna get different feedback than, say, a new player or just someone who's done like a little bit of content.
Yeah, it's good to have a variety of testers in terms of skill level. I mean, for testing my stuff on you, there's a bit of skill threshold required for that. So Nev does a lot of testing for me, but he he knows to to balance his feedback with his skill essentially, particularly around ammo usage. I've never seen someone be as efficient as him killing demons. But I've got a few go-to people that play on other difficulties. Arlene, much appreciated. She does a lot of the Pay Not to Roughen testing for me, and Liberation. He tends to play my maps on Hurt Me Plenty, so getting a variety of feedbacks through the difficulty settings is really handy. And then it's just about balancing what you know about the player's skill level with their feedback. And then if only one of your testers says something and then the rest kind of disagree, then you've got to pick and choose what feedback you actually implement. Not to say that the testers are necessarily wrong, but sometimes it's just about get the personal opinion kind of stuff. I might add, I'm going to make my first note, I might add block lines around this arena. Because that Kako is way away.
I don't know what to do.
Hey, hopefully he'll float back. Let's say hi. One thing that's going to be interesting for Age of Hell is you call me mean things anyway. Is all the all the new monsters and new weapons. That's another element that's going to need to be balanced and early on. Tweaking monster health and damage and how effective the weapons are, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a lot of early testing, I think, amongst the group. But there's enough people involved to keep that largely in-house. Because they've actually got, if you count the musicians, there's 20 people roughly working on Age of Hell at the moment. Everyone loves chasing themselves in the portal.
Some solid portal usage here. That would be fun to do. Like where you would have to dodge a bunch of projectiles, except they actually do damage.
You could do that pretty easily with some spawn scripts. Musicians are not people? No, they're not people. Jimmy, I'm tempted to commission him to do some work.
Well, Jimmy has a Black Friday sale, and it was like 50% off.
That is true. But the music for Age of Hell is going to be all OGG. A little bit more work involved. We've got a couple of tracks being worked on, but we've got to finish the maps first before we get more music made. Oof.
I like the switch just pushing you back. Giving you a slap to get you in the right spot.
Like in the hole. Well, I could have put the switch in the sector that lowers, but I thought that was I quite like that little touch. Just nudges you in. There you go.
Like the worm's Armageddon when you use the prod ability.
Yes.
Just knocking a worm off the edge.
Yep. OP Wickham.
Those are all the type of abilities where you have friends, and then you have the one person that can't stand always losing, and they just quit forever when they get prodded.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool, AD. I can there's plenty of time to develop your skills. Obviously, your MIDI creation talent is definitely there. So if you want to change, branch out to the new different format, yeah, love for you to contribute. $17 health.
I'll be fine.
I don't know if you will.
Don't underestimate my power.
You press the switch,
God.
you trigger the next
Oh my
fight.
God. I'm fine. I got this.
Here we go. So again, more portal shenanigans. Which were an afterthought. Well, not built. This arena wasn't built with them in mind. Oh,
That's a save.
Some AOH prog death, indeed. Oof. Well, the Age of Hell maps are going to be long, so it's definitely a going to want decent length tracks. But I'm thinking some music swapping for some of them will be a good way to mix things up. Earlier time. Yeah, I really like the way the portals interact in this area. In terms of the way options for how to deal with the fight. I think the resources in this one are pretty well balanced because you can't BFG spam continuously. There's enough plasma to deal with most of the monsters with BFG, but you have to be a little bit more
Proactive with your choices.
Yeah, definitely. Just make sure you've got getting efficient shots and try and use those cybers to do a bit of cleanup for you.
We'll just take some tips from Navanos and do some ammo saving.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how he does it. Well, I do. He's just really good. I think Nevanos is probably the best person for blind runs that I've seen. I think there's planned runners that I'd say are probably ahead of him. Not many, but, in Calagons and Zero Masters.
You wouldn't say it's Bloodite Crypto?
That's obviously back in people's minds with that YouTube video that came out about less than honourable Doomers recently. But yeah, in terms of being able to react and appraise combat situations quickly and deal with them in an efficient manner, it's not many people who can do it better than Nev. Big ominous skull, totally not a trap. Made slightly more difficult with no BFG ammo.
I bet you
Yeah,
I might have extra around. So we check on like the opposite side of the portal. Yeah, here's some.
Yeah, there we go. That floating there's a bit interesting. Right. This is the last fight, I promise. There's archers. Yes, I like the original fireplace. I think that might be the only actually vanilla texture in this. There's a vanilla recolors, but I think. Oh no, there's our rock as well, and the blood. So there's a couple of other ones, and then there's this room, which is just here because it looks cool.
Yep.
That is the sole purpose. I don't know why I decided that I wanted to make a pretty exit, and I kind of went overboard slightly.
Yeah, the one time where you can have a single room and it's literally laggy by how much detail. How many lines?
There's about 10,000 in there, I think. It's because of there's so many curves, and it's lots of stair builder, and there's invisible 3D floors and lighting, and yeah, it was quite fun to make. But it's like no, I can't put combat in here. It's gonna make people's heads explode.
I think you've
Very
gotten
good.
too rich with the amount of lines that you can use in GZdoom Builder. We're gonna have to take some away from you.
Inappropriate use of lines. Very good. Okay, so Where Dragons Dwell. Interesting thing about this map is that Cyano helped me make it. So big thanks to him. It's we wanted to make it's a slightly tighter map in terms of it's got a lot fewer encounters, and it was kind of themed around map 18 from Sunlust in terms of the trying to make something fast-paced and hectic. But there's a few more monsters here. Bloodwalk. So yeah, this opening area was made by Cyano. So you're seeing his handiwork. Very talented mapper that I'm working with on a few projects actually. So, helping me on Age of Hell, we're working together on Elementalism, and he's got his own mega world in the making as well. We're working together on, so you can see a bit of his stuff coming out in the future. So any deaths in this first half, Dime, send letters of complaint to Cyano Bluegrain.
I'll send some angry hate mail. Go on to id Games, make some complaints. Whine about the difficulty, it's too bright. A 5 out of 5.
It's too green. So the dragon textures that you see on the walls, he made those. Came out rather well on the marble.
The legs kind of springing out on the side. That's cool.
That's
works well with the Quake glass in and behind.
Yeah, very much so. So dragons was definitely a theme of this map. Hence the name, which is a very, very good Gojira song as well.
Where dragons dwell in all you places, Archfiles. I think you named the map.
Well, they kind of breathe fire. So this fight here, originally that wasn't a rocket launcher that you picked up, it was the super shotgun. It was, and I made a relatively recent change to the rocket launcher, because you get it fairly soon anyway, but it makes the fight a little bit easier, but just much faster to deal with the Archfiles and stuff. I think it definitely made it for a better encounter, getting the rocket launcher out. Doom on the calculator. There were originally also twice as many shotgunners that came out there. It was there was a ridiculous horde that would come out and just pepper you to death. Lighting on those paint meters looks good.
Well, that's how the fight functions. Is you scare off the player with the archviles, and they're forced to take incidental damage from the shotgunners. So I'm sure with like double the amount is you're just getting players killed.
Yeah, it was a bit too much damage that was hard to avoid because you have to hide in here for a bit to kill the Archies. You can't really leave it until either they're infighting or they're dead. But yeah, that many shotgunners, it just meant that you got ripped to shreds a bit too often. Because they kind of trickle in, so you're constantly having to turn around to kill them, and not dealing with the Archies, and it just didn't feel fun with that number. So we cut that in half.
We have more rockets that we missed. Not that I see.
No, but you've got a decent backup play as well.
I like how to spook up the trees. You just made them void. See
Yeah,
through.
looks surprisingly good actually. So that's just a UDMF render setting you can change on the sprite. Just make it transparent, give it a color. Looks good. Spooky trees.
I need a yellow skull for that one, so we'll come back around. I just like how it takes the void features, but it's like you're in an outside courtyard, but it's off. It doesn't feel right. You're so glad you bought Doom this time from Steam. What do you mean by this time? Did you get it from, like, GOG? Okay, that part's done. What have we here? Ooh, swirly yellow-black.
That's just warp on a fire blue recolor. It's a texture warp. It's a GZdoom Anim Defs feature. Yeah, so you can do it just to find it in Anim Defs texture name and then warp written after it. So you can do it to anything you want.
That's cool how we can see like other galaxies in the distance. I don't know, I'm liking what's being done with the sky.
It's a good looking skybox.
Yeah, just the feeling of being in like a small part of a big world.
Yeah, the liquid's the Mountain Dew, Arlene.
I can just see it coming up. Okay. To the throne room. Okay.
I think we always
The spirit dragon shall test your worth. Are pinky spirit dragons?
Yeah, this is good. A good chewy encounter. It's meaty. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it reminds me of the map one in kind of that final fight, but we're in a much smaller room.
Yeah, not quite as many monsters, but definitely a tough, decently tough encounter.
Well,
Uh-oh, we picked up the key.
died from spookage.
Halloween's over. No one tell that lost soul.
Just got broken up.
Yep.
We can pick up the rockets before the fight, just to give myself an advantage on numbers.
That Cyberdemon drew a beat on you pretty quick there.
Well, the way Doom movement is, like, it makes it look like you ate it on purpose. It's always running into the projectiles.
Yeah.
It's like that's the difference between Doom and, like, it's kind of based on old school kind of arcade-ish top-down 2D, but you don't have the same vision.
You don't get that full topographical view, obviously, but yeah, you can see there was some of that those old school shoot 'em up games. Oof.
Got knocked to the left by a lost soul, so put me right in the incoming path.
Yeah, it's amazing how often that happens. Like you get, you're trying to avoid a Cyberdemon rocket and something else just kind of bumps you back into its path, like a Revenant or a Hellknight Ball or a Lost Soul. It's just teaming up on yourself here. Yeah, they work together.
Have you, you know Ultima Mantoid?
Yes.
Well, like, his least favorite monster through his speedrunning days has always been Lost Souls, and that's kind of the reason, is you're just running through, and it's something that should be ignored, that is just directly getting in your way.
The way that they yeet themselves forward, great for being pains in the ass and getting underfoot. Small cats. It's been shortened. Originally, it was a lot longer, Arlene. The delays between monster waves. There were more steps to it. I think I halved it. Maybe even less than that. Originally, it took a long time. It was one of the negative elements in the first iteration was how long this fight took. It was just kind of get teleporting in the middle. So I moved all the spawn spots around, spread them out more, and had specific monsters coming in at certain places. And added the plane elementals were added in by me, so I moved for those ones. They're definitely one of the biggest threats in this fight, because that reason this boss is just getting away. Make it hard to use rockets, so you try and kill as much as you can. Like that!
Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Intended game design. Intended encounter. So.
Try to stay at the front more and see if it's because I don't have look as well too, so it's nearly impossible just to take out pain elementals on your queue.
Yeah, I did quite like my newest one came out in the end. That big pool of monsters, you're awfully tempted, don't take that yet. Tempted to use your rockets, but to get some efficient splash damage in, and down the stairs. But there are risks with it.
Use the plasma and then transition into the rockets instead. Try it. Because you're throwing the low tier at me with the pinkies and the imps. Open up space is the theory. And change the rockets.
Yeah. You definitely hang around the stairs for as long as you can is definitely the way I usually do it. Try and grab the Megasphere as late as possible. There's a decent amount of health in here. It's another green armor as well. You come to the point where you have to move to the back. So you're getting swarmed out of side, and that's normally about the time the Simon there he goes. Comes in as well, so. That's not letting those lost souls get up, numbers get too high. Take those points. Just don't get hit. Just don't get hit. It's interesting. I made my first boom map this year, a couple of months ago for Dying Camels Demons 3, which is something I always wanted to do. I wanted to try the engine, and I hate the movement, so I'm just not used to it in PR Boom, so I was testing in GZdoom and made the whole map, and I didn't think about infinite heights. It's a boom map.
Yep.
Some of these flyer encounters I might have to tweak.
Neither do I like the PR boom movement. You hear that from a lot of different runners. Is we'll like try to add the CN Doom mouse movement to PR boom just to make it manageable.
Right. Yeah, I just didn't feel right. So when I gave it to the testers, I was like, "Can you just, little disclaimer? I haven't actually tested this properly, and boom, I made sure that the map wasn't broken. Sort of God mode, made sure the mechanics worked, all the voodoo dolls and all that kind of stuff. The skies, because GZdoom renders skies differently. If there weren't any glitches there, oof. But yeah, that's like, just keep that in mind when you play through. If you find anything that's not possible due to getting stuck on the cacodemons.
Like that second archvile is just delaying.
Just hiding. I understand this little hidey hole. I like it in here.
Like the archvile is using our techniques, but against it, it's got some machine learning.
The archvile's the real gamer. I do like the way that it's because it's quite a simple AI in Doom. I quite like the way it works. It definitely lends itself to some interesting RNG happening. It's pretty impressive considering how old the game is. That yes, this port is heavily updated from the original Doom engine, but the monster behaviors are still essentially the same. Yeah, those dragon textures came out really nice. The wireframe ones.
Oh, BFG. Okay.
So again, Sino actually built the architecture for this section and set up the original fights. They added a little bit of detailing.
I'm breaking your fight, and I don't care.
I was good because Spud Hunter did that. Went up and killed the archvile straight away, which is the first person I've seen doing it, and I'm now seeing you do it.
Yep.
Clearly a viable strategy. Confirmed. The idea about because originally what I put up there was a Spider Mastermind. I wanted something to stop the player from being able to run away from this fight too easily. Spider Mastermind's in the wrong position, which is almost any position if you've got the BFG. They're not anything more than a small speed bump. But how about 8 archviles instead? Which is normally enough to keep the player a bit cautious, but not everyone's mad like Dime.
Oh, you see 6, and it's like, with a couple BFGs and just having the 2 pillars there. Like, if you didn't have those 2 pillars, much harder.
Yeah, with 0 cover. But 6 you can probably kill pretty consistently with 3 BFG shots. So, but I don't want to go Dark Tartarus mad and put 20 up there. Maybe I do. Yeah, so this fight's not too hard. It's a good, decent massacre for the introduction of the BFG. Nothing too troubling. So the map starts to pick up a little bit in terms of encounter thickness.
Is the Chronicles of Doom ready to play? Oh, this, if you're talking about my map title, this is called the Slaughtermap Spectrum, but I just called it the Mapping Chronicles because bringing lots of different individuals on stream just to talk about what they do, because it must be fun to make maps, but just as much fun to showcase them.
Yeah, so the WOD's called the Slaughter Spectrum DC. It's mine. I made it this.
Okay, there we go. We got that yellow key.
Oh, so you can put Slaughter Map. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was any iteration that contained the word slaughter would get blocked.
No, I changed that.
Stupid. Bloody Twitch.
Well, watch the way Twitch is. I don't think so, but like you could see like a 2-day ban for that. Trying to get around our naming conventions, huh?
So I think I tried it with a 5 and it didn't let me. Yeah, it's an odd one. You can slaughter monsters, but you can't use the word slaughter. Ooh, you got a lucky hit with that arch roll. Seen a few streamers call it the laughter spectrum, which should make me chuckle. Sweet pea stunner. Yeah.
Corpse wall lines.
That was amazing. I think this fight is over. Not quite. So from here on in, the combat is all me. So angry letters sent to Bridgeburner 56. To our complaints department.
If any failures in the encounters, we can no longer blame Cyano.
No, unfortunately not. What would you like to complain about, Arlie? Clearly not enough archviles, eh? That's definitely what you I think Terminus was one of the first people to test this. He was probably one of the best testers I've worked with in terms of quality feedback, like really detailed breakdowns. He doesn't record videos; he does it all via in a big wall of text, but nicely formatted. Yeah, really easy to read and really good feedback. When the first thing you see when you play this was like, "Holy shit, that was hard." So I quite like the way that this fight came out with these little. So I added these wings and filled it with archviles and Hell Knights. Got a couple of pain elementals, a couple of cyber demons in the middle. causing you distress, and then the Hell Knights slowly filtering in from the wings with an Archvile behind them, but that's where the resources are. So some people do come in here with a little bit light on ammo, and you got to try and manipulate some space to go into those side areas and fuel up.
Yeah, and it's the same manipulation of space that you use in the first fight, except you're using the first room instead of pushing into other rooms.
So it's, you've got bigger weapons, but there's bigger monsters to deal with. So I think it's a nice kind of repeat of the same theme, but with enough variance to make it interesting.
Oof.
Oh.
That cyber thing or two to think about. Okay.
A big green testicle to the face.
Yes.
And yeah, from the next bit you'll see is where I started actually building the map whole scale. So this is all me.
Now we're walking along the back of the dragon.
Yeah, that was one of those ideas that's like, is this going to look silly? It actually came out really nice. We do call it the spine bridge. Yeah, it's like... You remember having to fix your janky-ass portals on this Sino? Yeah, there are a few people who... this was their introduction to me streaming, was me making that bridge. So this room here, the interesting thing about this space you just entered, was very much inspired by a particular screenshot from a medieval. There's a room in one of the Arcane episode. It's the first time I'd really tried to recreate a specific scene from another game. So that central round section, the stairs going up the side, that whole area was inspired by a medieval. It came out pretty cool. It was quite a fun process to go through. Decide what from that screenshot I can recreate, or what I had to cut, not in terms of actually being able to build it in the engine.
So you didn't play the game, but you saw like a screenshot one day just traversing like the internet, and then
at that time I hadn't played a medieval. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, these things look really cool. And the architecture in a medieval is stunning. It's one of the best looking games I reckon going around for that kind of stuff. And yeah, a couple of them. This one in particular, I was like, oh, I think I can make that in Doom. And yeah, that was I wonder if you could see my crazy portal ceiling. Ominous switch is ominous.
The switch, not the earthquake.
That is an old.
I should have ran down.
I remember infinite height is not a thing in GZdoom, so you might be able to monster serve, which is always fun. Small revenant horde to start with. An appetizer. One thing I don't think you'll need it, but some of that plasma ammo you can't get without jumping, I've found out. Which I might actually change, because there's not many places where jumping stops you from getting stuff, so along with that one unencrypting chaos, I'll make that tweak.
You can make all the purists happy if they, for some reason, want to play a very GZdoom-centric map, but be able to jump.
I think given that you can get through the entire WAD pretty easily without jumping. It'd be good to make it consistent because yeah, I know a few people have played it without jumping.
These ones, and then go back to the other side and do some more jumping. Ah, the Cache of the Dragons. Okay. Instead of gold, you get plasma cells.
in this situation, probably more valuable. I'd say that this is the sequence of fights here is definitely the biggest encounter of the WAD. They go a little bit nuts.
Well, if it can top the fight in the first map, then
yeah, there's a couple of waves still to go. Yeah, it's good. Definitely one of those. Becomes one of those very much monster soup environments.
took a big scratch, but we have some resources. Still work.
Yeah, there's sort of reasonable amount of stuff available. Oi! Oh,
That's
no.
We got that saved for later. Okay. Restart.
Round 2. Fight. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how this one came out. There's I won't spoil the surprise, but there was a suggestion from one of my testers from Nirvana that I think really helped. Oof. Own it. It was a definite improvement.
And what got changed with the suggestion?
I'll tell you when it happens.
Okay.
Yeah. It was definitely a good idea from his part. Added a bit more dynamicism to the encounter and removed a hiding spot. That's generally a bad thing in a slaughter fight is being able to camp an area. If it's small incidental combat, it doesn't matter as much if there's nooks and crannies and safe spots around the place. Because the fights aren't that long, it's not that big a deal to doorway camp or find a raised alcove or something that you can just sit there and spam all day. Whereas if you can cheese a slaughter fight like that, particularly early on, it removes all the threat and all the kind of purpose behind it. So the important thing is, if we because often it'll be your testers that find that kind of stuff because they see things differently to you. And I have a bad habit of always playing maps for my fights the way I intend them to be played. I'm not very good at trying to think like someone else who isn't familiar with it. So when your testers go, okay, cool, I can sit up here and just cheese the fight. I did that with one of IG's new fights in one of his maps. And yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you really need to hunt down and to get rid of in slaughter fights. You don't want the player being able to sit still for too long. So where you're sitting up there is relatively safe, but there's not a huge amount of ammo up there. You could potentially get swarmed. And if you do get surrounded, well, you're stuck. Particularly a Caco swarm. Cacos are good for chasing players around. Because they're flying.
Flying and very tanky.
Yeah. Cacos and Hell Knights are good monsters for this kind of big amorphous blob that just kind of puts us a consistent but slow level of pressure. So a big cloud of Cacos in an open space is not very threatening, but they, in the right context, them following you around means that you can't ever stay still for too long. So that's why you do see Caco clouds quite commonly in slaughter maps. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with the rocks. They're a place that you can hide. The rocks off to the sides. There is some resources in there, but you can't stay there for too long because you'll run out. And potentially get boxed in. Hey, Desert Griffin.
If I'm lucky, it's not a damaging pain sector.
I was talking to that about that to Nevnos the other day. We were just thinking, should I make these pain sectors? You can tell what his answer was. No, you won't need many guesses.
And then you start talking about 5%, and he's like, nah, 20%.
Yeah. Instant death fall. No, that would be insane gazebo. Any pits in Sunder are death pits. Just pretty much guarantee it. All right.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Well, cyber demons have to spawn sometime, right? Yeah. Hello.
See, it's quite interesting. I thought that this might, because them waking up is actually triggered by you going up the stairs. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't be obvious enough for the player to go up there, but lowering those, the mega armor and the megasphere seems to have been, which was my idea, seems to be enough to draw the player's eye up there. And no one's complained that discovering the progression has been too hard. Lost all skidding across the floor. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Oof, open up the space. Yeah, okay.
No, I quite like insane gazebos with pain elementals. That was spook dispensers. Oh, you're talking about the actual lost souls themselves.
Oh, we still got one of you up. We'll fix that. Crap. Ah, the boner squad has returned.
Right, here is where it's... so what the suggestion from Nirvana was to have the stairs lower, because it was too easy a camping point. So now that with them dropping, they don't be up the front there. You can hide back there a little bit, but you can't stay there for too long. It's going to get you eventually. And it looks good when the stairs are lower down. Yeah. Just opens it up a little bit. That's a lot of Revenant rockets.
Yikes.
And more tomatoes.
And archfiles.
Yeah, a big gang of them spawns at the back. The Archie gang. Yeah, this degenerates into a proper a proper clusterfuck.
Are the cybers only UV?
No. But the interesting thing with cyber demons and slaughter fights is they can actually make fights easier. So I think a lot of new mappers, potentially make the mistake of taking the cybers out on lower difficulties can actually make the fight a lot harder. They're magnets for infighting. How do you get up there? And with their infinite rocket clip, they do a lot of damage for you. Good, slaughter fights. I heard slaughter gameplay described once as if you see a cyber demon, it makes you think, do I want to kill it or do I want to keep it? Oof. They're a resource to be managed. Indeed. Like cyber booty. Moo, motherfucker.
Low for the archfiles now.
Yeah, not in trouble. There is a secret megasphere. Spider corpse. Almost dropped on that rocket. Oh, thanks, Hamperman. I do really enjoy mapping. Huge amount of satisfaction out of it. You watched me create that ridiculous sloped monstrosity yesterday.
Still like one archfowl in there, and it's just one monster, but it's the scariest thing. Just the threat of having it there.
I can't remember them. There's about 16 archfiles in this fight. There's a few. I'm surprised it came out looking as good as it did, to be honest. That slope section. I was very dubious when I was starting it. Is this actually going to look any good at all? Quite often, I had a backup plan, something a little bit more straight laced, but I'm pleased that I persevered. Definitely one of those good drunk decisions.
I don't know what to do.
There's okay, that looked cool. There's a hole in the middle where all the monsters are coming on. You need to, yes, as Arlene says, yeet yourself down there. But you're pretty close to done. There's one more small warp in. That is the main fight. What you've done there. Whew.
I don't want to take out my rocket launcher. I don't trust myself with rocket launcher.
That's when you quickly type resurrect and say, no, you didn't see that.
It was the spirit dragons, it wasn't me.
Yeah, they blessed me with another life.
Oh, it's canon because they're archvels.
This is true. I'm very proud of Arlene for not resurrecting and promoting through maps anymore.
"28 archvels remaining."
Yeah. I think this probably helps, and doing Sunder, even when I'm too young to die, is a good baptism of fire. The idea behind the small rev warping is you can jump down that hole relatively early in that last fight. It's just more something to stop the player from sprinting straight through.
Yeah.
But if you do it right at the end, if they feel a little bit like, why are these guys here? Do serve a little bit of a purpose. That's all. The rocket controls left. Have you got to the new maps yet, Arlene? Oh, that Hive Mother fight, yeah, that thing's nasty. If you should be 2 switches up the top there.
Which number 2? Was that 2? Yeah.
Yep, and that raises the exit up, which is by the hole, the the dragon anus.
Ah.
GG. Very nice.
This is Void Noir.
So this one is a little bit different.
Eight monsters.
This is me experimenting with portals quite a lot and a certain aesthetic.
Oh, it's hunted all over.
Sort of. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more stuff like this.
The silence, like it reminds me. Have you played Zazer's Dead.wire.
I've seen it played, but I haven't played it myself.
At the very start of the map with it's just
Mm.
silence,
Yep,
and you're
yep.
going through the quadrants before you hit the city. Kind of the dystopian city with zombie soldiers and pinkies with no faces.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Very cool. This is very, pretty amazing.
I'm cheating with the minimap. Would you call that cheating?
I've been very tempted to remove everything from the minimap. I'll put it that way. I still haven't decided on that.
Because, yeah, I see what you're going for, but then it's just like, oh, I see what's going on. Now I might be a little lost.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to remove the auto map because the maze isn't that hard once you figure it out. This one actually has a clue in it. There is an indicated path.
Oh, the lights? Looks like it. The torches that are off.
Yeah, the black candles. The way through.
And Cyber Demon in them. Oh. Those aren't Cyber Demons. And hello.
Yeah, so this map was definitely trying to plan from the beginning, folding portals into the combat. And it came out pretty good. And Sino helped with the concept. He didn't make so much the map, but he was helped the initial ideas.
This is cool. You can go into the portal, the revenants go away. If you go back in, they follow you.
So you can because the way the AR works, you can actually use it to your advantage if you can find the right spot, which I'm fine with. Most people, it just messes with their head.
Gotta hate experienced players just breaking my maps. Oh, their projectiles go away too. Ah, they can't win.
Ironically, it means that the non-homing ones are actually more dangerous. That's quite funny though. Just like completely change direction.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
Nice. Alright. Still one left.
This is a beautiful area. Oh, I like that. It's so creepy.
Yeah, the silhouette style came really adds to the vibe. Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun making this.
I feel like you could break up. I'm dead. Like you could break up the materials, and then it'd be like these old artifacts of like a lost race.
I think because I'm definitely going. This is kind of like a proof of concept. When I make another map like this, it's going to be much bigger. It's relatively short, and yeah, definitely can do like kind of broken ruin in the void kind of thing. I think would fit this rather well. Kind of like it's a bit of that in the new Bloom mod.
Like I'm second guessing myself where the Archfelds are going because of the silhouette. Because you can't see like how wide they are as easily.
Just throws the player off just a little bit.
It's an awesome little concept, but I'd say like just knowing a little bit about portals and then kind of seeing how the monsters react is you can absolutely abuse that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people who know know how portals work, yeah, can definitely. But that's fine. Yeah.
The coloration, like in the other map, how everything was green. This is like how I feel actually, kind of looking at a starry night sky. It's rather comfortable just to sit here. I get to look out into the cosmos. This very spinny cosmos.
Yes. Why is the galaxy rotating so much?
Yeah, whatever planet we are rotates. I want to know the timer on that.
Yeah. When I first met this area,
Sorry,
I actually broke GZdoom.
I remember the screenshot very well.
Yeah. You could if you entered the auto map, you couldn't leave it. If you the menu wouldn't open. Yeah, infinite portal recursions are not GZdoom's friend. This was a tough fight to balance because if you're any good at two-shotting, it's pretty straightforward because it's just 4 cyber demons. But I didn't want to make it too hard because if the cyber demons build up, because the way it's all this big portal maze, it can get really hairy. As you may be about to find out.
Absolutely, it's just disorienting because I just run into shit and get myself killed. But like the portal maze, when you go through it, is if you have a cyber demon that's already shooting at you.
Yes.
Well, it's also going to be shooting when you go into the next part.
Yeah, because in this one, it's not like with the Revenants where there's walls between everything that collect the projectile. If he tracks you, the rocket's going to suddenly be coming from a very different direction. Well, that one came through as a corpse.
It's like Cyber Den with a much better or more fun, like actual cyber fight.
And now it's E1E8.
Lol.
Oh, sorry, I mean E2 me, mate. That's the not E1. GG.
Jeez. Now can we find the end? Oh, there's extra plasma up here that we missed.
Yeah, it's a little bit scattered around.
What an awesome little concept, though. Okay, to the Infinite Void.
Oh, so this was originally the hub map for the project that this was originally from. I don't have a home for it, so I just added it into the WOD. It was an experiment. It's an unfinished experiment. It was pretty fun to make, but it's just me going mad with colors.
Yeah, now you need to make a rainbow road out of this. Like some Mario Kart. Oh, my computer's chugging.
Yeah. So like I said, unfinished, and yeah, some pretty major FPS drops. I went a bit nuts with the curves.
Giant sun.
So each one of those little altars was going to be a teleporter to a map.
That's awesome. So detailed that it looks like tie-dye.
I had to actually Google the colors of the rainbow to make sure I remind myself what they were, but I got quite familiar with it by the end.
Oh, gonna make my Christmas light design based on this.
And that's a script, that floor. It's 24 different textures being changed. There's about, I think it was 600 sectors all up, creating that. Because why not?
Why not? Fades to darkness. The end.
The end. Well, thanks for playing, Di.
No problem. It was my pleasure. I love the map set. It was just a it's just amazing, like going by the screenshots and then kind of coming into the game and just being kind of blown away by like each new area. Is just like, can you top this? Can you top this?
I'm glad you liked it. No, it was a lot of fun to make. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is I learned a lot about mapping. From when I started it, making it to getting go through testing and then actually publicly releasing them and getting feedback from the general crowd. There's been a lot of learning in this, and it's quite a long process. And it's definitely made me a better mapper, and people seem to like it, so definitely encouraging me to make more. You'll definitely be seeing more Bridgeburner maps.
Absolutely. Like looking forward to the Age of Hell and Elementalism, but it's like the set as we got through and we got to the hub map at the end and the portal theme on Void Noir. Is this like the maps got quieter as we went through?
So Void Noir was originally going to be the secret map for Refracted Reality, so that's why it's a bit different. It was fun experimenting with a couple. You've got all these bright, colourful, intense maps, and then completely flipping that, making a monochrome, quiet, subtle map, which is not something that I'm known for.
Yeah, after the flashiness of what's going on, but it's like, gotta test and try things and then put it into future maps.
Definitely, yeah. So a lot of things like that. You'll be seeing those concepts again, but hopefully done a bit differently and done better and bigger.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be looking forward to what's coming in the future, Bridge. It was very enjoyable having you. Link your sets if you want to in the chat. If anybody's in here who's interested in playing the Slaughter Spectrum, absolutely recommend it. It's more of a hardcore style of play, but if you're looking for kind of excellent looking maps and having some fun taking out monsters, go for it.
Here's the link. And this has this is the current version. This is the version that you played, Dime, is on there now as well. So I've updated I haven't done a post about it yet, but because it's got to change a couple of things. But that has the version that King Dime played, which fixes a bunch of bugs that's been picked up over the last couple of months. And yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Dom. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyable.
Oh, it was great. Loved hearing your insights. But yeah, just before we go, chat, we'll see, because it's getting late tonight, but we might have Matt Tropiano on later for the best WAD ever. Big competition here to the Slaughter Spectrum, but yeah, I'm gonna send you all off on a raid, and yeah, just waiting to see what you got coming out, Bridge. It was awesome.
there'll be a fair amount coming out next year, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and as far as some of the points where I felt like I was having a struggle answering, that's because these fights are hard. We're playing on ultra violence and tested me.
For those people who want to play, difficulties are actually implemented as well. So if you're not as experienced with Doom or Slaughter, don't worry. There's it's definitely tailored to a wide range of skill levels. So
tailored for everyone.
Don't be afraid to dive in, even if you're not that good at that kind of gameplay.
All right, and we will likely have Bridgeburner on again in the future because I would like to go through your whole composium of maps, not just this one. And there's a few more that we haven't gone through, but we don't have a date really set. But the Dying Camel map, there's another one.
That's publicly available. So I got a map in that. So it's all my community project work is essentially what else there is there. So I got a map in Joy Mapping 6, which is my very first release map. There's 1K lines from last year, which is for those who don't know, is a vanilla map limited to 1,000 lines only.
Made on Deep Sea, of course, different.
Right? Yeah, definitely. So very different to this kind of stuff. And 1K2 is coming up starting in January, I believe. So I'm gonna make a map for that as well. It's lots of fun. And MapWitch, which was my first community project that I ran, which was a collaborative mapping teams, pairs randomly assigned, 3-week build time, which actually made some seriously good maps came out of that. So I've got a map in that one as well. No, not yet, AD. I've got a couple of bugs to fix for that. And then the Dying Camel's Demons map, which should be out next month publicly, is my first Boom map. So I've got quite a wide variety of things there to play.
And not only do you release maps, but you also do mapping streams right on Twitch. How about you link that too?
I do. So I been doing it a year now. I do most of my mapping I do on online now. People watch, and I do a bit of variety playing as well. I'm playing Quake at the moment, but predominantly mapping. So if you want to see how the chaos unfolds, I'm there most days at the moment, mapping away.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll catch you all around chat. We'll catch you around Bridgeburner, and y'all have a great day.
Cheers, everyone.